Hey, what it do, y'all? What it do? This particular video is actually a finale based on a series of videos that I put out last year, given the date of this video that I'm doing now. And instead of doing all these video edits and instead of putting the finale on a podcast type of format, I figured, why not stand in front of a blossoming tree? Why not stand in front of a blossoming tree? There's a reason. There's a method to my madness behind a lot of this. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about it. All right, so I wanted to do a finale. I wanted to do a finale as far as when a woman hits the wall. And I said previously that I was going to talk about how a lot of these females are flourishing without a man's nourishment. You know, you think about how flowers flourish, right? You think about how they flourish. It takes light, don't it? It takes light. Light is a form of nourishment. Am I correct? Okay. And so if you look at the yin and the yang, you know, the yin, per se, is the dark side. It represents the feminine side. And the masculine side represents the light side. The feminine side is the dark side, and the masculine side is the light side. So the dark needs the light. Yes. The yin being the feminine and the dark, and the masculine being the yang and the light. I know I didn't quite say that in the order that I should have, but I think y'all get what I'm trying to say. These plants, they need light to flourish. Without this light that you see coming in from above, there's no flourishment. And think about this. Look at how the grass is being green. It goes beyond just looking at flowers. So in regards to a lot of these females that aren't being real women, but they're finding ways to show some type of flourishment without nourishment, how they're doing it. And I went over that and I talked about how that's the case. So check my previous videos out and then maybe come back and check out the finale of this one if need be, for those who haven't done that, in regards to how a woman hits the wall in the finale. But I want y'all to continue to walk around and see all this flourishment because of nourishment. A woman is not going to flourish without a man's nourishment. So in essence, she'll never blossom or flourish. She will never, hey, check this out. This is crazy, right? She will never blossom into her womanhood and flourish in it without a man's nourishment. That's deep, ain't it? Just like these plants and this grass. It won't, none of this will blossom into its flourishment without the nourishment of the light. Man is the light to the woman's darkness. And he is also a delight to her once she embraces him. In all benefits, the birds, the berries, the bees. You know, in a few weeks, you're going to see leaves. Right now, you just see the flowers blooming off the trees. I just rhymed and I didn't even try. You know, and so this makes me think, you know, because I wanted to really talk about how a lot of these females that aren't being real women are flourishing without a man's nourishment. How are they doing it? And it's based on a lot of artificial programming, literally. Kind of like similar to a lot of these genetically modified flowers. They are based on artificial engineering. So can one take a step further by actually saying that these females, they are flourishing based on artificial engineering too? Let's just not say program. Let's just say engineer as well. Not that they were programmed to think that way. and be that way. They were made to be that way. Is that such a far stretch? Is that such a far stretch? You know, makes me think about it. You know what I'm saying? And I hope it makes you think too. And of course, there's always an exception. You know, you have evergreens and you have other types of plants that stay green all year round. But even they are prone to demise without the sun around. So no matter what time of the year, plants, one way or another, in some way, shape, or form, need the sun. Even these trees you see without leaves, guess what they're doing? They're going through a cycle, which depends on the sun all year round in order for them to go through the cycle. Just imagine if there was never any sun. They would never have a cycle. This is beyond the seasons. Those seasons include the sun in it, don't it? Yeah, the seasons includes the sun for that cycle. So a woman, even as she's going through her seasons in life, even her menstrual seasons and cycles, it should be inclusive of a man. Now, that's another story altogether, because we could talk about how all these females go about doing things with their cycles without men. That's another story altogether, fam. I don't know about y'all. Damn, I just saw a chipmunk, y'all. He ran off. Mr. Chipmunk. Look at this one right here. Once again, this needs light, man, in order for it to go through its seasons and cycles. That's the only way these can bloom like this. They go through seasons and they go through cycles, and it's based on the light that they've been living off of. And a woman, and her true womanhood is the same way. She's dependent on the light or the man. You know, her yin is dependent on the yang. And to be honest, the light can continue on without much of this around, right? But a lot of this can't continue on without much of the light around. And that's true as far as the principles of the yin and the yang. You know what I'm saying? It's funny because I remember, you know, the comedian Eddie Griffith, he talked about, you know, people don't know about the speed of dark. We know only about the speed of light. But if we talk about the yin and the yang, it's about the light always being a factor, you know, and the dark is dependent on the light. You know what I'm saying? You can't just live off the dark alone. And I mean, you can't necessarily always live off the light alone either. That's why there's a balance with the yin and the yang. But with that said, as far as the masculine and the feminine, you know what I'm saying? You know, it doesn't take much femininity for the light to sustain its purpose. But just a little bit of the femininity is good for a man as far as his understanding of things. But yet, in a world of just pure darkness, it will just become too chaotic. There won't be no order. You know what I'm saying? So actually, the little bit of the light, the masculinity, makes a big difference, whether good or bad. Have you noticed that? Look at society. And I don't even need to really explain that. A lot of people can really take what I say and really go from there with it, you know? But all that to really try to tie in with what I'm trying to hit y'all up with, as far as the video topic here. I just wanted to put everything in perspective so that y'all can kind of see how I want to wrap all this up. But the reason why a lot of these females that aren't being real women, they hitting the wall and they go through this whole flourishment without a man's nourishment. Like I said, it goes back to this artificial engineering that they've been, that they've had in their life. And also the artificial programming. So as far as reality, as far as real, you know what I'm saying? They don't have that. They're only doing what they've been programmed to do. They only say what they've been programmed to say. I'm to the point now where I don't even want to say I'm trying to get a female to be on my program. I don't want her to be that way. I only want a woman in my life. So a woman doesn't have to program herself to me. She just accepts my reality. She accepts my light into her life. Really, that's what it comes down to. She accepted my life in my light. Yeah, she's accepting my light, not my program. I don't need to program a woman. All I need to do is put light on her and she'll flourish. She'll blossom. That's all I have to do with a woman. These chicks out here who ain't trying to be real women, you know what I'm saying? These females that aren't trying to be real women and they try and do it on their own without a man, or they act like they don't need a man, or they act like they ain't looking for a man, if you will. You know what I'm saying? They void of light. They void of light. And, you know, if you ask me, it's similar to some of these concrete fortitudes. These are not natural entities here. These are based on programming, if you will, you know? And so you'll have some of these females whose ways and thoughts could stand the test of time. But that doesn't mean it's part of the natural landscape. It can be an eyesore. And that means somebody can knock it down at any moment if they want to, or not have anything to do with it. And so there's just a lot of men that understand what I'm saying who just stay away from things like this, per se. And no pun intended against this actual building. I'm not saying I have something against this building. I'm just using this as an example. But that's what it's like, fellas. These females that aren't real women, they aren't like this. They aren't like this tree that's depending on light. Your life, fellas, they're not like this. They're not like that. They're like this building that can stand here based on its artificial underpinnings, and they can stand the test of time whether there's light or darkness. You know? You know? And let them. They don't need your light. Don't be around them. And like I say, you have your exceptions. You have some trees that stay green no matter what. But that means that it's always green all year round. And that is still depending on that light one way or another. You know, that just means evergreen is an evergreen. Just as just as, you know, as far as evergreens, they're the unique ones, I believe. Not every woman has that type of personality as far as being like an evergreen, always being green. You know, you don't really see these type of trees. You don't really see these type of trees that are evergreens go through cycles. You know, they always stay green, right? So that means there are some women out there that are unique like that, as far as them not really going through a lot of crazy cycles. You know, but they're still women. They're just unique in that. I would say, as far as what we consider cycles, for them is more or less, they don't have mood swings within those cycles. They don't have a lot of mood swings or severe symptoms and setbacks. As with, you see with trees that do go through a lot of cycles, you can see a lot of their symptoms or setbacks. Literally, they've been set back as far as their leaves. You don't see that. Okay. And so you have some women that also go through some of those extreme cycles. Some of them also have mood swings too. Okay. But at least, you know, it's based on a cycle. Okay. And as long as she's being very natural and holistic about it and still depending on you to help her get through that season or that cycle, brother, then that's still a good woman too. So you can find a chick that's unique, or you just find one that knows how to, you know, just go through the motions with you in her life, ever so present, always present. Okay. But the ones that are like these brick mortars here, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Yeah, seasons, no. There's no season with them. There's no cycle with them. Concrete doesn't have seasons. Concrete doesn't have cycles. But one thing concrete does have is wear and tear. So that's what happens to a lot of these chicks that are going to hit the wall. That hit the wall. You're gonna see that wear and tear eventually over time. No matter how long they think they can stand the test of time, a lot of ways will catch up with them. Yes, I know there's this idea of a lot of these old females that grow to be old and they outlive everybody else. But I tell you what, Doesn't mean they getting prettier as they getting older. As you see with this brick here, it's breaking apart. Eventually, weather will wear it down. And guess what? Light affects this brick. So that means, brothers, if you remain the truth, your light can even affect the brick. It can affect that bricked out old chick, or these chicks that are becoming stone cold. They becoming like, they like Medusa with it. They stone, right? Stone cold. Your light will eventually affect them too. You know, it's just that they can't handle the seasons with you. That's fine. Be like that brick, girl. But just know one day you got your time too. You will have wear and tear, just like concrete, just like brick does. You will wear out. And so have y'all noticed, fellas, that's why some chicks don't want to deal with you. They can't handle you like that because they can't handle your light. They can't handle your light on them. Your light will eventually radiate through them and melt them or cause them to start to show cracks within their brick armor because they're not made naturally. So basically, one could take this a step further, and out in here, a lot of these chicks, they know about the wall, right? But not what we think about the wall. Of course, yours truly defines the wall as the woman's biological clock. And I'm pretty sure a lot of fellas within the mainstream media or social media knows of this too, you know, because it's about sexual market value going down, and her ability to have children, goes out after so long, and that's all part of her biological clock. That's how she hits the wall. But see, women know that too, and they just call it their biological clock as well. But however, when they mention wall, they don't mean wall like we say wall. They mean wall as far as their armor being fortified. Gotta have my wall up with these dudes because they be trying to hurt me. I've been hurt. I gotta have a wall up. Okay? So it's not that they even think that they hit the wall. They think they are the wall. And so that's how a lot of them are flourishing without a man's nourishment, without his light. So what is the opposite of a woman not flourishing with a man's light? She's going to eventually be worn down by a man's light. So no matter how hard up she thinks she is, no matter how much of a brick that she thinks she is, baby, you're going to have to do one or two things. Eventually that man's light, it's going to melt you down, or it's going to crack you down. It's going to incinerate you. Because look here, you see the sidewalk? You think that was a product of you? No. That's a product of the light. Eventually wearing and tearing on this. You know, and based on the seasons. Yes, based on the seasons that this light provides. Because it provides the rain, the snow, the heat, the wind. It provides all that. You know? So you can only be so hard for so long, baby. May you learn how to be more like this tree instead of like this concrete. Because that's how they hit the wall. That's how they hit the wall. Because they actually think they are the wall. But the wall does eventually come crumbling down too. The wall does eventually come crumbling down as well in some way, shape, or form. What you made for yourself through all this mortar and brick will eventually start to crack apart. And what happens as you start to crack apart, you see this grass right here? You see this grass, baby? For all you that want to be cold-hearted, want to be, you want to be all cold-hearted and all that, and think you're all tough. You see this? You see that grass growing up? See, as you crack apart, the grass starts to blossom between these bricks. So that means for every hardened chick that ends up starting to wither away over time due to the natural course of light, the man's light, the man's truth, the grass will grow in between that. You'll start to see a new crop of women that rises up from these cold-hearted chicks that are just typical females that look like concrete. yes, the grass does grow out through the concrete one way or another. So I always believe that there's hope and that real women still exist, and they don't want to be nothing like these hard brick chicks. Signing out.